And we are live for another episode of the Brown Water Banter podcast. I am Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
And we're on the backside of the 100th episode, baby. We're going to roll right on through to the triple digits like we've been doing. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be talking to the guys that absolutely destroyed the Swordfish record at this year's Billfish Classic. They're going to talk to us about the trip. We're going over it before we went live. It's a pretty killer story. You're going to want to hear this, man. It's a nail biter for sure. Before we jump into that, though, we want to mention our sponsors. First one right out the gate, Southern Magnolia Smiles, man. They're the one who's been with us for a while now. That's Dr. Robbie Williams right there. If you're in the area, Ocean Springs, Biloxi, Gulfport, hell, if you're in Mobile or New Orleans, you want to make a drive, come over here to Southern Magnolia Smiles and check them out. They're on Washington Avenue in Ocean Springs. They're on all the social platforms at Southern Magnolia Smiles. If you want to give them a call on the landline, it's 228-215-1202 or hit them up on their website at southernmagnoliasmiles.com, man. We do appreciate his support. And secondly, we have Jesse over at Hill Tree Marketing. This is Jesse right here with the blue shirt on with his arms crossed right here. He's the team lead, man, and here's the team that he's put together here. If you're looking for web design, IT work, videography, cinematography, aerial cinematography, if you're looking to get a website built, whether you're just for your personal use or for your small business, they're local and they do a great job. Go over to hilltreemarketing.com and check out the websites that he's done, or like we keep saying, go to our website, brownwaterbanter.com. He did our website, did a complete revamp. We love it. We couldn't be happier with it, and we couldn't be happier with working with him too. Super great guy to work with. All of our sponsors, man, we actually use them. We're not just sponsors of the show, so can't say enough good about. That's right. So let's bring these gentlemen in here, man, and let's start talking the state Swordfish record. So I'm gonna bring them right in here. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing today, man?
Doing well, man. Appreciate it.
What's going on, guys?
Just
out, man.
Yeah. So tell us, Joey and I we're talking. We were down there at the Billfish Classic this year, but that's a long way in, man. That thing takes a minute. We got Joey live streamed a good bit of it. We got some killer photos, but unfortunately we left before y'all made it in. And I'm hearing a little bit of the backstory about maybe why that was. It was kind of a nail biter there to beat the clock. So tell us about the fishing trip. Tell us about the state record Swordfish, man. I mean, that's got to be an awesome feeling, pulling something like that in at a tournament like that.
Definitely, man. It's an incredible accomplishment for our team. It just, that whole trip, we stayed on the boat for 2 nights. It was 3 days fishing trip. We checked out at 11 a.m. Thursday. We went about 400 miles west of Biloxi. So basically the first day was all travel, we got to the spot about 7 p.m. Thursday evening. So once we got there, we had done some pre-fishing over in that area before. We caught some nice fish, but sword fishing is different, man. You just never know, So we went over there, made a couple drops, and we weren't getting much. I have a 3K transducer, so it's a game changer in swordfish. What used to, you can't mark the bottom. We mark swordfish, bait, all kind of different things that you're looking for, thermoclines that you're looking for when you're sword fishing. So when we got over there, it looked good on the chart, but it wasn't fishy, if you know what I'm saying. We weren't marking too many fish. It wasn't too good. But by that time, I mean, we just kind of had to stick it out over there for a little while. So, we stayed the night over there. We put a few lines out overnight. I think we caught 1 pup. It wasn't too much action. Next morning we woke up, we made a move about 50 miles back east from that area. We got in a nice school of fish, but it wasn't that. We were pretty comfortable with the 300-pound fish winning this tournament. We knew it was going to take. We didn't set out to just be first place. We set out to break the state record. I do charters in Venice, Louisiana. I had been sword fishing a good little bit, so we got the swordfish dialed in pretty good. But we're going against the best anglers around the country, so it's never a given, So we got into a nice school of fish. That total trip we went 9 for 11 on swordfish. Isn't that right, Mitch?
Yep.
Yep. 9 for 11.
So Donnie, you're the captain of Tails Up, right? And then
Correct.
Mitch was fishing with you. He was part of the crew that day for the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to paint the picture for those who don't understand what's going on right now.
Yep. Me and Mitch have been fishing tournaments together for a while. We actually grew up fishing kingfish tournaments together. You know, we were on separate teams, but we were always in the same age group. So we've been knowing each other for a long time, and he's fished a couple of these big tournaments with me. But finally, we got that signature first place swordfish jackpot win, and it's no better feeling, guys. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no
doubt. So y'all fish a contender, right? We were talking earlier, and you fish contender.
Yep, 39 contender, 2021 trip 425 Yamaha 4-strokes on it.
And what's crazy is that's considered a small boat in this tournament, correct?
Oh, definitely. And it's also, you know, a center console also,
right?
You know, and you know, center consoles are nice, but to stay 2 nights and 3 days on it in the middle of summer is a challenge, you know, for sure.
You got to earn it for real. You got to earn it on that.
Exactly. You know, luckily we brought a nice little barbecue pit, so we were grilling steaks and eating good, but you know, we weren't out the elements. You know, we were sleeping on bean bags and not really sleeping, more like power naps just to get some energy, you know? So you got to bleed it, man. You got to love it. You got to want it. It's a lot that goes into this that people don't see behind the scenes, you know?
Yeah, it's easy to walk in that AC cabin and take a nap for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what is
that or actually go sit down on an actual toilet?
Yeah. I mean, you got to jump overboard or find a 5-gallon bucket for sure.
Yeah, we roll with the bucket out there.
I've been there once or twice on the bucket.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do, you know?
What is an advantage in this tournament of those little center console? Say little, it's 39-foot boat. But what's the advantage of having that center console out there compared to that big sports fisherman that's rolling? I mean, speed's probably got to be one of it, right?
Right. Speed is definitely one of them. You know, fuel, those boats, those cabin cruises, they don't have to stop and refuel. You know, they hold a bunch of fuel. So I would say speed and distance is our 2 advantages, you know, but really, I mean, it's really not that much of an advantage when you think about it, you know, because we're in the elements all the time and it's tougher.
Yeah, and it's hard to think of a 39-foot boat being the small guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Tell us about when the fish gets hooked on, man. Tell us about the fight, how long it took. Like that's the part I want to hear, man.
Oh man. All right. So Friday. It wasn't until Friday, about midday, when we made a move to this spot. You know, we kept catching like a 130, a 150, but you know, we bagged one of them. But we weren't confident in those fish. You know, it wasn't until we got to this last spot where I was marking bait. The edges were good. The thermocline was good. Everything we're looking for sword fishing. Well, we dropped down and we hooked a monster. I mean, he was probably 280, 290, one of my biggest swords. He came up on the surface. He was cutting through the water. He was, you know, we got a good look at him. Well, after a 3.5 hour battle, we pulled the hooks on that fish.
Oh no.
Yep. So, you know, we get 3.5 hours. We go reset, same spot. We drop down again. It wasn't that insta bite. Another like 260, man, came up on the surface. He was jumping, came up to the boat. We were like, all right, we got to capitalize on this fish. Well, we fought that fish right at 2 hours, pulled the hooks on that fish when it sounded. So by this time, morale's pretty low on the boat. You know, we're kind of disgusted. We're saying, man, did we blow our opportunity on these fish? You know, we're kind of debating, do we go in and get fuel? Do we come out? Well, really going in and getting fuel didn't make sense at the time because we were so far away. You know, we were tired, you know, a lot of factors. So we all decided as a group, you know, discussed it as a team, what were we going to do? So we stayed out there. We put lines out that night. I think we caught like 2 smaller fish, you know, nothing that we were looking for. We released those 2 fish. The next morning, we were confident in that was going to be our time to shine. You know, we were in a spot that we found some 200 plus fish. pound class fish. So we set up that next morning. We made a drop, first drop, 130, just like that. So we're like, all right, here we go again. Well, we reset, and the next drop, boom, this fish hits, and we just knew it was a special one. He was pulling drag. The bigger swordfish, they kind of sit on the bottom, like you're snagged on the bottom for a little bit, and then they come up to the surface. So this fish, we were very confident was a big fish. We thought maybe, it would be a 2, 3, 4 hour fight, tops. So we had figured that time. We hooked this fish at 7 a.m. Saturday morning. We had to be in to the dock by 6 p.m. that day. So, we were thinking, all right, everything's got to go right. So we're about 2.5 hours in on this fish, and it hasn't budged yet, man. We got the lead off. It was just digging in. I'm in the harness. It's a 5-hour battle, man. Stand up gear, no, it's no luxury of fighting chairs. You're in a stand up gear. And I was in it for 5 hours. Normally I'm the captain. I don't get to catch a lot of fish. So it was pretty cool to I had my dad, Don Sr. I grew up fishing with him. So he was driving, because you always have to have a guy on the wheel on these type of fish. They are constantly moving. They don't just come right in. It's not a tuna that just sits down there in circles and circles like that. These fish are coming up to the surface, jumping, moving around, charging the engines. It's a very challenging fish to catch. So we're about 3 hours in, man, and I'm getting pretty tired. My legs are getting numb, all of that. But I kept thinking, man, this is a fish of a lifetime. And every time I was getting tired, I was thinking about my family. Like, how could this change for my business? How could this change for my family? All the things that push me mentally as a person. So it would just give me enough to just, all right, you got to grind it out. Donnie, pour some Gatorade on me, pour some water on me, just keep me going, These fish, it's a marathon, not a sprint, is like I describe it to my customers. You don't just go all out. You got to save yourself, pace yourself, and just keep on grinding, So we're about 3 hours in. We're we're getting kind of antsy, man. Like, all right, because this fish, we're either going to get it or not. So we calculated that we need to leave the spot we were at by 11 a.m. Okay, so it comes about 10:15. We're still not even close on this fish. It's going back to the bottom. It's coming up. It's going back to the bottom. We gain a little bit, he'd go back down. We gain a little bit, he'd go back down. And it was literally tug of war for hours. Finally, I just kept bumping the drag up on him. Usually these swordfish, I don't like to fight them more than 15 pounds of drag. But by this time, we had figured if we don't put some more drag on this fish, it's not going to matter. This is going to be all for nothing. Yeah. So we bumped it up, and finally I put everything I got in that last hour. I just got down on my, put all my weight into this fish and just kept inching him up. And finally, I think it was close to 12 o'clock. We stuck a gaff in her, and it was an absolute super stud, man. Just the feeling of getting it to the surface, to see this monster swordfish pop up, to get a gaff in her, to get another gaff in her, to get a third gaff in her, to get a tail rope on her. Well, that was just half the battle. We didn't even have time to take pictures of this fish or anything like that. We had to figure a way of our 5-man crew to get this big fish in the boat. And we really didn't have time to think. We iced this fish down, running 50 miles per hour in. I mean, it was just crazy. We didn't even have time to think, like, what did we just accomplish? All we were thinking of, are we going to make the scales, because we were already an hour behind on the time that we had figured we needed to leave by.
Yeah.
So that's just the first problem though, right?
Yeah.
So you're an hour over.
Exactly. That's just the first problem. Well, we were far away, and I calculated the fuel, but I hadn't calculated needed to run so hard on the way in to get there. So what normally, I'll get maybe a mile, 0.9 to the gallon. We were sucking 0.7 for almost 200 miles. So that took, 50 gallons out my fuel supply. So by that time, I had to slow down a little bit. We just had to.
I was about to say, so you had to throttle down, I'm guessing.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sitting there watching, I'm driving the whole time and I'm thinking, all right, I'm looking at the fuel bars and I'm just trying to calculate all this out, and man, it's just not adding up. I told Mitch, I'm like, dude, we're going to be very close, man. If we make it, we're going to make it by 5, maybe 10 gallons, if that, So I throttled down and got 0.9. We cruised down to 45 because we knew we were decent on time, but we wouldn't have been decent if we ran out of fuel. You know what I'm saying? So we decided, all right, well, we get about 3 miles outside the pass, and all of a sudden the engines start missing. Bum, 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 So we come to a halt, complete halt. We're 3 miles outside of Red Pass, and then it's another 7 miles up Red Pass to where you get fuel. Well, by that time, I'm doubting this whole situation. Are we really going to make it? Is this all for nothing? So, I get the guys on the front of the boat, and I had saved 9 gallons of fuel in my starboard reserve tank. I shut that tank off a little early because I kind of said, all right, if we run out of fuel, at least I'll have this reserve to get up Red Pass. Well, sure enough, man, I opened that up. That light was blinking, but it just started blinking. So when it starts blinking, I had 10 gallons left. Well, I shut it off with 9 gallons left. So we had about 10 miles to go with 9 gallons of fuel. I put everybody in the front of the boat. We went up Red Pass at 30 miles per hour, getting a gallon per mile. If not, we would have never made it. We limped into Venice Marina, which isn't my home marina, but it's actually about a mile closer than Cypress Cove Marina.
Yeah.
So, we got in there, man. We must have got in there on fumes. It's just everything had to go right for us that day. If it would have been rough that day, we wouldn't have made it. If we would have burned 1 more gallon of fuel than we had calculated, we wouldn't have made it. So, we had a lot of things went in our favor, and it's just a great thing to accomplish that, So, long story short, we pull into Venice Marina.
If it hadn't been for some good friends.
Yep. And then we pull into Venice Marina.
If it had been for some good friends at the dock.
Yeah.
In Venice.
Yep, we pull into Venice Marina. We get a quick, 160 gallons of fuel, but they had a line to get fuel, So I explained to one of my buddies kind of what was going on, showed him the Swordfish, said we were pressed for time. Well, he let us go ahead of him. He not only let us go ahead of him, he also gave us his fuel pump. So instead of 1 fuel pump, we were pumping 2 at the same time. We got a quick 160 gallons in about 10 to 15 minutes, and we were gone to Biloxi.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So to paint the picture for those that don't know, y'all left out of Venice, straight south, went swordfishing. Y'all are how far offshore?
Probably about 200 miles.
So 200 miles. So
yeah, it wasn't just south; it was southwest now.
Yeah. Okay. So you run 200 miles back to the Mississippi River, jump up the Mississippi River, grab fuel, and now you got to make it to Biloxi in 2 or 3 hours, right?
Yep, 2.5 hours. That's another 90 miles. Not even 2.5 hours. We had about 2 hours left. So, one mechanical issue arises, anything like that. We don't make it. So, it's just a great story.
What's the mood like on the boat after you get the fuel? Because that had to be a bit of a morale boost right there, right? You're like, okay, we're back in the game again. Now it's just a mathematical equation. Can we get to Biloxi in time, right?
Exactly. Well, I started believing it once we got fuel. I was just like, man, everybody sit back. We're gonna run this sucker wide open to Biloxi, And we ran that new contender. If it wouldn't have been for the contender and the 425s, we would have never made it. Ran it wide open to Biloxi. We made it with 8 minutes to spare.
Ooh.
Oh, y'all had plenty of time.
Yeah, right, way more
Yep.
than enough time.
Sat in line. Well, we got there 8 minutes to 6. Well, we didn't weigh that fish till right after 10 at night,
Yeah.
so
Right.
yep. But the time we got there, man, we all started becoming believers. I mean, I fished a while, so I got a good idea of, what a 300-pound fish looks like. And I knew this one was 300.
I'm gonna flash it on the screen for people watching. This is what he's talking about, man. This is them when they made it in right there. I mean, it's one thing to be there and see that live and see that fish, but not knowing the backstory on it, that
crazy.
adds that whole other layer to the smiles that's on y'all's face right there. And if I'm looking at it right, that's 309.9. Is that what I'm seeing in the photo?
Correct.
Yeah.
309 point.
We were there earlier, and Robbie told me, he said there's a big one coming in, but he didn't tell me if it was either a marlin or a swordfish.
Right.
And then when we left, that 700-pound marlin came in. I thought that was it. So we go to Jared's house, and all of a sudden y'all pull up with that. And Jared actually was like, that's a marlin. And we got confused because when you pulled it out of the bag, it was so big. It looked like a daggum, it looked like a marlin almost.
Oh, yeah.
Through that 309, I was like, that's a swordfish. I was like, that's a state record. It's got to be a state record. And when they hung it, I was like, yeah, that's it.
Well, yeah, and once we figured out, like Joey's saying, it was a sword. The first thing when I read about it that it was the state record, and then I know the end. What was the previous state record? Was it 240 something?
242, I believe.
Yeah,
Okay.
y'all smashed it. So technically, y'all would have caught, without knowing, 3 fish that day that probably would have broke the record.
We would have been first, second, and third in this tournament.
Yeah. So if you say the first 2 that y'all hooked was 260, 280 round, I mean, y'all would have been
First, second,
First,
second, and third.
Yeah.
But the first thing that hit my mind though is usually when somebody breaks a state record, they don't destroy it like y'all did. And so I've never been sword fishing before in my life, and I wondered what was the reason why there was so much of an increase there. And questions like, is it because not a lot of people fish swordfish from Biloxi, from the state of Mississippi, or is it because of that tournament being so big and having guys like you attracted to that tournament to come fish it that made it? What's the answer to that?
I would say that sword fishing, it's getting more popular all around, but it isn't as popular as it is in Louisiana.
Okay.
We have, so that tournament, putting that bounty on that state record swordfish, that attracted a lot of great sword fishermen to Biloxi to try to break that record, and that kind of puts a target on that to break it. And I think that's the reason why.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Mitch, I know you've been cutting out. You got a little internet connection, but explain to us. I mean, what depths are we going for these swordfish? It's not like going running behind the islands. We got to go way out. 200 miles from Venice is a haul.
Oh yeah, I mean we were fishing. I think the shallowest we fished the whole time we were out there was 1,200 foot. Other than that, we were in 1,500 to 1,800 foot of water.
Yep.
Yeah.
And most of the guys who swordfish, Donnie's probably the only one I know on his charters that don't use electric, and it's all hand crank. And
Right.
You really got to earn it.
Yep.
Yeah. Usually when you're deep dropping, you're hooked up to electric reel, and you just hit a button and, you know what I'm saying? But y'all manned up, suited up, and got it in by yourself.
Yep. Hand crank is a different animal,
Right.
It's not for everybody, but my view is, I grew up fishing with the captain who honored hand crank very seriously. He said these fish are special fish that you need to catch them on manual gear, and I kind of based my whole principle on that, and it's just more, you can feel the fish, you can do a lot of different things than just pressing a button. That's why hand crank is special. Also for charters, you have a group of 5 people. 5 people can fight that fish hand cranking. You couldn't do that for the tournament, but for charters, it's perfect. If one swordfish, you get 5 guys to crank on that. I mean, that's special. That's something they'll never forget.
Yeah. So
Right.
correct me if I'm wrong. If it's a state record, the person who hooked it has to catch it. Is that you can't hand it off or anything like that?
Exactly.
Right?
It has to be a manual gear. You cannot pass the rod, and it has to be hand crank and stand up gear for a state record and for a big tournament like that.
Yeah, that's a crazy story, man. That is
Mitch,
awesome.
Mitch, what was it like watching him fight that big fish for that long? Give us some details on that.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, when we first hooked that fish and Donnie got settled in, we got the harness on him. You know, like Donnie said, we were thinking it was gonna be, you know, a little 2-hour, 3-hour battle, you know. But
Little, right? The
man,
2-hour battle.
It's after that third hour, it was, you know, I was sitting there pouring water and Gatorade down his throat while he's fighting the fish, and I'd go sit down for a minute and try and get out of the sun, because I mean the sun was just beating on us at that time. You know, we literally had a little fan that we had took on the boat, and we set it up to where it was blowing on Donnie just to try and keep him cooled down. You know, because he was
for those three,
when he got done, he was shaking.
Yeah. Those 3 or 4 hours, y'all are just the rest of the crew's just a cheerleader, right? Y'all are just trying to get him to do whatever he needs to do to get comfortable.
Yep. Well, here's the deal on them other fish. I would always say, all right, Mitch, get a shot of these fish, man. Get a picture of that rod bin. Well, this one, I was like, all right, Mitch, get a picture. He's like, no, we're not going to do that this time, man. Because the last time we kept pulling the hook. So we're going to, and I was like, all right, that's a good idea. So we didn't take any pictures, you know, of that. And we just waited it out and we got it in the boat this one, you know?
Man. Yeah. That's a great story, guys. Like I say, just seeing the fish is one thing, but hearing the story behind it, I hope we're going to tag the Billfish people and hopefully to everybody. I want them to hear that story because that adds a whole nother element to it. That's killer.
I want to give Donnie a shout out just for the simple fact, you know, if anybody wants to go catch a big fish, you just got to look that man up, because I promise you he'll put you on some fish. And I told him when we fished this tournament, I wanted to catch my first swordfish, and I wanted to do it the right way and stand up and hand crank, and he put me on him. And I thought 150 pounder was going to kill me, but after he brought that 309 in, I kind of felt like a little punk. but
that was my next question. I was going to ask Donnie, what has your business been like after you caught the state record? I mean, have people come down and say, hey man, put me on that fish?
Yep. We went from fishing, 4 or 5 days a week to 6 to 7 now. You know, we're full time, man, and it's a great feeling, and it's a fish like that can change business for the better. You know,
absolutely.
Are you specializing in swordfish now? I'm assuming because that's probably the request that you're getting, right? Or
yep, I'd say I'm about 60-40 with yellowfin tuna and swordfish. You know, those are our two. That's what Venice is known for, is yellowfin tuna and swordfish. And yellowfin tuna and swordfish are two bucket list items for, I'd say, 98 out of 100 people. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Give us the backstory on Tails Up, though, man. How did that? Just a quick version so people that are watching this can know. Like, how'd you get the whole company started?
Yep. Well, it's actually a pretty cool story, man. I grew up with some friends, and we were actually at a bar one night back in my college days, man. And I had fished my whole life, and one of my buddies, I should give a shout out, Jordan Corona. He came up, he said, man, dude, you know what would be a great name for your business is Tails Up Charters. And I was like, dude, that's awesome, man, because it's, when you hang big fish up, you hang them by the tail,
right.
So that had me sold like right there, it's just, and you can do the hand sign, the tail's up right there. So it's just a bunch of different things go with it. It's catchy. So in 2013, I LLC'd it and just started building it, man. And, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into this business before it takes a good 3 to 5 years to get started in the charter business before you're respected as a captain. Number one, you have the clientele that you need to do it full time, and that you have really information and grasp on fishing just the fishing knowledge. You know, a lot of people want to be a captain, but not everybody wants to put in the work to get there, you know, and it takes a lot of time away from your family, a lot of time, you know, boat maintenance, taking care of your gear, that all has to be a part of it. You know, we go fishing, we do a day of prep before and a day of prep after, man. People just see the part of going on a boat. It's a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see. You know, and that's what I'm grateful for is I grew up with my dad fishing, and he taught me, he's very mechanical. You know, he taught me a lot about how to fix things, how to do a lot of things to become independent on myself to where I'm not depending on other people. He taught me hard work, business ethics, you know, all of that stuff that it takes, you know, and I'm grateful for that. I really am.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that payout, man. We want to hear that payout because I know it was good.
Yep. It was, man, we're still waiting to get paid, dude. It was a good payout. You know, we took a good picture with the check and everything, but, everything had to clear. It's an insurance company payout. So, it should be coming pretty soon, you know, very soon.
That's going to help your business tremendously, I'm guessing.
Definitely. You know, I can afford to buy maybe a reel or two and some nice rod, you know, but most of that's going to go, you know, the time we divide it up between the crew and everything, you know, it's not the whole amount, man, you know, but it's a little more than each of us had. So that'll work, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, man, we appreciate y'all jumping on here with us this evening. That's a great story. I hope everybody that's watching and listening on the replay there enjoyed it because that's a nail biter. That's a nail biter for sure. And I'm glad it turned out the way it did.
Yep. I appreciate you having us, guys.
Yep, for sure, gentlemen. Well, look, y'all have a great evening. And what's the plans for the future? I'm sure people can hit you up. You're on Facebook, Instagram, right? Tails Up. Just look it up.
Facebook, Instagram, man, Tails Up Offshore Fishing Charters. You know, my website is tailsupoffshore.com. My phone number is 504-313-8339. Whatever you guys are looking to do, man, we kind of cater to whatever type of fish y'all want to catch. You know, you can hit us up. We're blessed down here in Venice where we can catch pretty much anything you put your mind to. If it's in season and we're able to do it, we will make it happen for you guys. So, you know, give us a like or hit us up, man. And my phone's always open, man. Reach out if you have any questions. I want people to learn, you know? Yeah. So that's important, man.
Y'all got your sights set on next year's tournament?
Yeah. If they have the Swordfish bounty, Tails Up will be a part of it for sure. If not, we'll fish yellowfin tuna. You know, that's another big draw for the Billfish Classic, and we're really confident in our live baiting for yellowfin tuna. So if they don't have the Swordfish, because what I'm hearing is since the bounty was broken, that's kind of going to be the end of it, you know. And plus a 309 pounder is gonna be pretty tough to beat now. It's not like a 240, you know. 1 over 300 in the Gulf is a real big fish.
Yeah, you scared them. You broke those insurance people in half. They don't like that.
You go sit on that belt for a while, for sure.
They've been taking all our money for years, man.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, they don't like to pay out on the other end.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good evening, man.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having us on, man. If y'all are down in the Venice area, check us out, man. We'll be happy to take y'all fishing and do something with it.
Will do, man. Will do.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Take it easy.
Well, that was killer, man. I hope y'all enjoyed that.
Dude,
that's a nail biter.
Just sitting there. I was
shit.
I've been there, but in way smaller tournaments on way smaller payouts. But I couldn't imagine with that money on the line and all that, the money they put into it just to get in there and have that fish in the boat and be 8 minutes, 8 minutes to the dock. Holy crap.
52, I think. Yeah, 8 minutes to spare. Yeah, that's tough there. And I want to reiterate for people that are listening, the fishermen out there know, but what did he say? 5 hours of fighting that fish? That's a long time. That is a long time.
So go out in your backyard or next time you go fishing and take 300 pounds and drop it to the bottom and just hang out and play with it for about 5 hours.
Yeah, drag it around your yard for 5 hours with a rope and see how you feel, you know? But
he wanted it, man. He got it.
He got it. He earned it and he deserved it. So again, everybody, thanks for checking it out. We got a lot of cool stuff lined up. Joey's got we got a list of people that we got to get back in touch with to get on the show. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you're liking us on the socials, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Y'all take it easy.